Hello everyone. Today our team would like to deliver some slides related to our final project. And today our topic is optimization of generation scheduling using the differential evolution algorithm. Our team has four people: Trương Đình Minh Đức, Ngô Trường Quang, Nguyễn Thanh Long, and me, Đỗ Viết Vũ. And this is the outline. First, we just introduce the problem, introduce the final project. And the next one, we will talk about the differential evolution algorithm that we use for the final project. And the next one, we will talk about the experiment. And the final one is we will talk about the conclusion and future work. So in the introduction session, we have the two minus session. That is a motivation and objective. Or the growing of the demand for energy has led to more research about energy management. A recent approach, some strategy with proposed to solve the problem of the usage energy are the implementation of microgrid with the integrated renewable energy source, together with the provision of the energy management system with capability of optimizing operating costs and reduce the emissions into the environment. A renewable energy source can provide enough power to meet the low demand, but they have a problem. That is an uncertainty of active power, which led to a challenge in using the renewable energies. However, if the system is managed optimally so that it can efficiently mobilize research power resource, ensuring the balance between the generators and low demand. In the objective, we use the GA algorithm to minimize the generation schedule of microgrid. And GA stands for the differential evolution algorithm. And the system connect with the main grid, and the power from the grid will be depend on the operator. So you can see here this is our system. ESS stands for energy storage system, like a battery or something like that. PV stand for renewable energy resource, like solar energy, windy energy, and this is the diesel generator and the load, all connected with the main grid. The next one is problem overview. Our goal in the final project is to minimize the operating cost of the grid connected to the system by controlling the generating power of elements in the grid and apply the differential optimization algorithm to optimize the operating cost of the microgrid in the 1 day. And you can see here this is our objective function, where PMZT is a power purchase from the main grid at time t. PZT is the external electric grid price at time t. And CI plus PDCIT, that's the cost function of the ith diesel generator. That's depending on the generating power at time t. And P battery T, that means the delivered power from the battery into the microgrid system. And C battery stand for the cost of the battery. This parameter depend on the investigated cost and life cycle of the battery.
Hello, professors. My name is Ngô Trường Quang, and I will continue the part of my friend. In the first part, we talk about the introduction of our problem, and now I will come to the second part, the constraint of our problem. In our project, we divide the problem we have into 4 constraints. For the first constraint, we're talking about the active power balance, and in the first constraint, the power production and consumption at each time t is not balance to this equation. It describes that the sum of the power provided by the diesel generators, the E generator at time t plus with the power by the batteries battery at time t plus with the sum of the power which provided by the voltage the photovoltaic at the time t minus with the power by the load and minus with the grid we have to equal to 0 and for the second constraint we're talking about the limitation and the limitation of the output power from the element the first the output power of the if diesel generator is limited by uh, this equation this the power of the DSL generator the mean power of the diesel generator have to smaller or equal to the power of the diesel generator at time t which have to be smaller or equal to the mass power of that diesel power and for the second limitation the generation power of the microwave equal to the absolute of the power by the microgrid at time t has to smaller than the power of its generator at the mass power and the final as the power of the energy storage system the absolute of that power have to smaller or equal to the mass power of the storage. And next we come to the third constraint. In this constraint, we're talking about the limitation of the mechanical properties of the diesel generators. And in this constraint, the output power of generators is always regulated by the mechanical characteristic of the engines. And we have here is the for each generator's ram up and ram down power is specifically limited by that this we said that the power of the diesel generator at time t minus the power at time t minus 1 and the absolute of this will have to be smaller or equal to the limitation of the power and we have that the pt and pt minus 1 is the power output of the each generator at time t and t minus 1 whereas the p limit is the limitation of the ram up and ram down power and for the last constraint, is the constraint is about the limitation of the energy storage system. And the ENS energy storage system, the level of the power must match the generating power for 4 hours, and it's be limited by the capacity of the storage system. In here we have that the power of the battery at time t plus 1 is it is determined by the power at time t and because we have that for each time the power will be charged or discharged uh, and it will time with the efficiencies of the power for one moment on the battery only be charged or discharged so for example and this part will be greater than 0 and this will be 0 and otherwise when the battery is charged this part will be greater than 0 and this part will be equal to 0 and the final limitation is that the power at time t plus 1 have to be smaller or equal to the capacity of the power we said that the E battery.
Dear Professor, I'm Roxing Long, and so now we are going to continue our presentation with the differential evolution algorithm. And as we know, the differential evolution is the search sharpest global search optimizations algorithms for solving non-linear optimization problems. And it's a style of the evolutionary algorithm and related with the other evolutionary algorithms such as the genetic, and it is designed to work with the multi-dimensional real-valued candidate solution for continuous object function, and which DE I call it, I call it sort of the differential evolutions. This algorithm don't do not make user brilliant information interest. And we can see in the picture below, we had that is a differential evolution diagram, and it have the many parts, but we just forgot the four main parts. First is the initialized population. Second is the mutations. Third is the recombination or the crossover, and finally is the selection. So now we will detail in the each part. Um, First of all, we will talking about the initial population, and initial population begin with a set of the individuals and its genetics randomly between the upload and lower powers, and we can see in the equation below. Uh, the output equal the value in the lower post, and it's added with the randoms and the different the upper and the upper and lower values. So second, we go to the mutations. The purpose of the mutation to maintain the genetic diversity from the generation of the population to the next generations. So in the DEs, we select the three vectors. We can see here the each generation one, each generation random two, each generation random three, and we add the weighted difference three of the vectors to the third vectors. We can see here, and the output of this person we call it the donor vectors in the in next generations. The third we go to the recombination or crossover, and the purpose of the crossover is create the offspring by exchanging the genes of the parents among themselves. And in here, we developed the trial vectors from the target vector and donor vector from the mutations. And finally, we go to the selection. The selection, um, the difference of the genetics algorithm, the DE, doesn't not make the user different informations in the search, and it just use the local search to find the best candidate solution in the end in the search. And in here, we using the target. We compile the target vector with the trial vector from the crossover, and the ones that is the with lowish function values and is selected from the next generations, and we can see the detail in the equations like this. So to finish on this part, we can see I want to show you the flow chart of the DEs. We can see we had the 19 step from the create the initial populations and using the in each in create the populations using the mutations, and next step using the crossover and using the selections. So I'm finished on my part, and we will go to the experience of the jokes. Thank you, Professor.
I'm Luke. So will explain our experiment. The first one is our data. The first one is our data input. There are three power from the forecast is the power PV power and the load demand, and the net loss is the load demand minus to the PV power. And from this picture, we can see the generating power of the PV system increase sharply from the 8 a.m. to the 4 p.m. Meanwhile, the load demand variable quite slowly around the value of 300 kilowatt. And the next input is the time of use TOU in the input data that it varies with the time of the day. During the peak time, the TOU will increase And meanwhile, during the off peak in this one, the TOU will drop lower. Short term are the time to buy the power from the main grid. Yes. The next data input is the price cost of the operation generator. We have three generators here with the maximum power of three region is different. The first one, the maximum power is 155 and 50 kilowatt. The second one is the 200 kilowatt, and the final we have the 300 kilowatt. And because the maximum power of each generator is different, so we will need to have the plan to optimize the power from this source. The battery parameter is very important. With the maximum power is the 100 kilowatt. The capacity of this battery system is about 250 kilowatt hour. The state of charge initial is 0.3. The maximum SOC is 1, and the minimum SOC is the 0.3. And we need to consider the efficiency charge or discharge in this situation is 0.95 and 0.95 too. And after we put the data input from this one, we get the result here. The first picture we can see this is the plan for 1 day, and we need to operate three diesel generator and the main grid from the time 15 to the 18 when the TOU is very high. Buying the electricity from the main grid will not be as effective as running the diesel generator. Meanwhile, from the time 11 a.m. to the 13, the sale of electricity to the system bring a lot profit. The power of the battery is shown in the next picture, and the power of the battery is using at the time from the 11 a.m. to the 13, and in this time the TOU it get high value, so it can provide the power to the grid, will get more profit. Meanwhile, it need to charge to prepare a new peak hour at 14. From time 15, the power from the DC generator can provide the load system. It can be seen that the DE algorithm converges after 7,000 iterations. In the initial loop, the algorithm changes the value very quickly. Meanwhile, at the end loop, the change of the price the change is very low. And finally, the conclusion and future work. Scheduling power generation in the day is an important task for the operation of the power system, especially in the power grid with many special components such as the storage system and the power exchange with the system. To optimize operation of such a microgrid system, this study has proposed a flexible and effective solution. Besides, the application of the DE optimization algorithm is explored in the field of power generation scheduling. From there, grid operator can increase the optimization when operating the power system. And thank you for your listening.